Let's Find Larry is a simple game very similar to Where's Waldo, where all you need to do is find Larry. That is, until the protagonist starts to hallucinate strange scenes and notices people following him and Larry. Something sinister lurks inside, so let's find Larry. While taking a walk in the park, Morgan notices someone familiar, his best friend from high school, Larry. Larry is apparently pretty popular in town, even years after high school. "It's great to see you, Larry," Morgan shouts from afar. Larry, perhaps not noticing Morgan, walks away. Was Larry actually Morgan's best friend? Because it's strange that he didn't notice him there. Morgan wanders off in the direction he saw Larry go. Larry notices him. "It's a beautiful day, isn't it?" he says in a friendly tone. Before Morgan can respond, Larry scampers off into a crowd in the park. Morgan manages to locate Larry a couple of more times in the park, but he manages to just keep slightly getting ahead. Larry leaves the park and heads into the city. Morgan follows Larry, unsure of why Larry doesn't remember him. He is found once again in the restaurant district. "Are you following me?" he asks bluntly. He rushes off before Morgan can reply. Larry really doesn't want to talk to Morgan. I'm starting to doubt this whole best friends thing. Larry heads deeper into the city. The crowds are bustling for such an afternoon. He finds Larry again, but notices someone out of the corner of his eye watching him. Morgan, with an uncomfortable feeling, decides to just follow Larry again. While looking for Larry, Morgan starts to see strange things. The lights darken. People become shadows. Morgan sees police cars as if there was a crime scene. There's wanted posters of a deranged looking person, the serial killer, Willie Mack. Morgan remembers hearing about Willie Mack in the news years ago. Morgan also notices the strange man from before in the crowd, but pretends not to see him. Oh, he's definitely hallucinating. Right? Morgan's eyes snap back to reality. Morgan catches a glimpse of Larry and follows him. As Morgan gets into the business district, he notices a silhouette of someone atop one of the buildings. It's not clear what they are doing up there. Finding Larry again, he notices Morgan. "Stop following me or I'll call the police," he yells as he storms off. Surely something is wrong with Larry. They were best friends in high school after all. Or so Morgan claims. Morgan starts to notice more silhouettes on buildings, but they continue to offer no clues to who or why they're up there. As Morgan finds Larry in crowded places, no matter where he goes, he shouts for help, even pleads for Morgan to stop. For some reason, Morgan is compelled to keep looking for Larry. While continuing to search for Larry, Morgan follows him into a bathroom and has another hallucination. There is caution tape adhered to the stalls, blood running along the crevices of the tiled floor. Morgan thought he may have seen a faceless body in one of the stalls. Morgan's eyes snap back to reality again.
"Hey, can't you see someone's in here?"
Restoring the bathroom to normal. Finding Larry again, he stops for a moment instead of instantly running. He holds his hands to his face in obvious distress. "You don't have any idea what you're doing," he says calmly. He raises his tone sharply. "Are you with them?" He continues shouting, "Oh God, leave me alone." He then gets in a car and drives off. Larry, driving through the city, is run off road by a black car moments later. He heads into an abandoned part of town. Morgan doesn't know why. He feels something strong inside, almost on a paranormal level, something forcing him to continue to follow Larry and search for him, pointing him out repeatedly. In the abandoned part of town, Morgan experiences something similar to the hallucinations, but this time it's more real. It rains. He hears a scream and sees someone bolt down an alley in his peripheral. A car pulls up and screeches to a halt. 4 figures exit the vehicle. A man in sunglasses and a red and white hat arrives. He laughs. It's the man he saw in the shopping mall. Morgan feels terribly uneasy. His vision snaps again, but this time nothing changes. It's all real. "Notice you've been keeping a close eye on somebody," he says. "We like finding people too." Morgan feels tense. His muscles tighten. The tiny hairs on his body stands on end. "Recognize this rat?" he asks. He holds up a copy of the newspaper. "Nice guy Larry," it reads. It shows a picture of Larry and details his good deeds being recognized by the mayor. "We would like a little word with him," he informs Morgan. The man instructs Morgan to stay on his tail if he knows what's good for himself. Not wanting to upset the strange guy, let's call him Waldo. He definitely looks like a Waldo, right? Morgan continues looking around for Larry. Even among all of the hiding places of this forgotten part of the city, Larry is nowhere to be found. Morgan goes as far as to start looking in trash cans, but finding nothing. After searching for what feels like hours, Morgan finds Larry actually hiding in a garbage can. He emerges, tears running down his face. "You saw them, didn't you?" he asks between sobs. "They took my family," he confesses. "They won't stop looking for me." Shortly after, Waldo and his followers arrive. Larry begs Morgan not to turn him over. Waldo demands that Morgan point out Larry. Morgan, not having a ton of options, points him out. Larry, again, runs. Larry enters a bustling nightclub. He manages to hide here for quite a while due to the loud music, the low lights, and the large dancing crowd. With the persistence of Waldo, Waldo's crew, and an unwilling Morgan, Larry is eventually found in the club. Larry can do nothing to hide as he is found repeatedly outside of the club until he runs into a building across the street that unfortunately has no other exit. Waldo approaches behind Morgan. This is the night. He dispatches his followers around the building and hands Morgan a long rifle. Morgan takes it. It's heavy. Holding it up is strain within itself. He can feel the weight of this large rifle pulling the muscles, not only in his arms, but in his torso and legs. It almost feels like a fever dream at this point. Under normal circumstances, someone might just walk away at this point, but it's not normal circumstances. In this story, things are strange, and Morgan doesn't want to upset this gang. Morgan sees Larry on the building. He's in a panic. Larry has run out of options. The shot is lined up, and Larry is hit in the torso. He mutters a few words and stumbles. He falls from the building, crashing into the ground, somehow not dead. Waldo draws a handgun on him. Waldo tells Larry, "Your time is up," and refers to him as Willie Mack. Wasn't Willie Mack the name of the serial killer on those wanted posters in that hallucination? Morgan's brain moves so fast, it's as if time has slowed down. Larry is Willie Mack? But how? They look nothing alike. If this is somehow true, then that means Larry is the bad guy, and Waldo is actually on the side of good? Waldo and Larry yell back and forth for a moment. Larry then rushes out of the building, attacking Waldo. Waldo tries to defend himself with gunfire, but it makes no difference. Even with a gun, Larry somehow manages to dodge the bullets and jump at Waldo. Larry, or should I say Willie Mack, manages to slaughter Waldo and his entire crew. The chaos clears and Larry is standing among their bodies. He then looks over to Morgan, and Morgan is the one to run away this time. Morgan finds a mask on the ground. The texture feels oddly realistic to human skin. It looks kind of like Larry. Was Willie Mack wearing this the whole time? Morgan doesn't make it far before Willie rushes him, his face missing, replaced by red and bleeding muscles. "You just couldn't leave me alone, could you?" he yells. "Larry, Larry, my friend from high school," he says mockingly. He laughs hysterically and carves off Morgan's face.
Distressing news coming from the quiet town of Middlewood this morning.
The next day, the news reports on Willie. Severed body parts had been found buried in trash bags in the park. The police had managed to uncover all of the body parts except for the person's face. Willie Mack was a serial killer who had been incarcerated for brutally murdering many people. He had been sentenced to life in prison for his crimes. During a transportation, there's a crash and the vehicles explode. Willie Mack is thought to have died in that crash. Willie Mack had removed his own face and put it on one of the bodies that had died in the crash, making it seem if he actually died there. He learned to collect faces off victims and use them as masks to hide in plain sight. Is Willie Mack something of a supernatural variety? He took a .50 caliber bullet to the torso, then fell off a tall building, and then managed to dodge bullets and slaughter an entire gang before making his own escape. Also, it seems the world of this story will receive an update in the future, so subscribe and leave a comment down below if that's something you'd be interested in seeing.